A mention of Ebola conjures images of bleeding, violent death, and care workers covered in protective suits. But for most people, Ebola is a distant threat. A fresh outbreak in Democratic Republic of Congo has killed more than 30 people. Virologists say it's the same strain as the 2014 Ebola pandemic that claimed more than 11,000 lives. That epidemic spread across several West African countries, even reaching the UK and the US. It also prompted an international response, and 2 years later, the outbreak was brought under control. Ebola flare-ups have continued, and the World Health Organization's admitted that the world is not equipped to deal with a severe, sustained epidemic. Tonight, we take a look at some of the challenges in containing this virus. With me is Genya from Doctors Without Borders. It's very good to have you with us. So we are hearing that officials are about to roll out a mass vaccination program. Tell us more about that.
Yes, so happily after the outbreak in 2014-2016, there was an attempt to come up with a vaccine. So there is an investigational vaccine that has already been used in the DRC in Bandaka a few months ago. And we're hoping that once they've investigated the strain that has broken out right now, that they could use the vaccine in this particular outbreak.
And how does this vaccine differ from previous vaccines?
Well, prior to 2014, we did not have a vaccine, so it's taken a while to be able to come up with something. And this year, I think, is the first time that it's been used in an investigational capacity. It seems to be working, and we hope for the best.
So what was used before?
So before, in fact, we did not have anything. So I don't know if you know this, but Ebola cannot be treated, and there was no vaccine. So in fact...
Was there anything to be used to lessen the pain, to make life a little easier?
Symptoms can be treated. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of pain. So treating the pain and preventing vomiting and keeping you comfortable and hydrated so that your body can try its best.
What an extraordinary challenge, isn't it? If there is nothing that you can use, and is it because it keeps changing, the strain? Is that what makes it so hard?
That's one of the things that makes it very hard, but it's a virus, so up to now, viruses in general cannot really be treated. Symptoms can be treated by the virus itself, has to be fought off by the body. And this is a virus that causes a hemorrhagic fever, so, and that causes bleeding from orifices in the body.
Do you think in the future something could be used to make the body stronger, just in case?
Oh, that would be wonderful.
It's still a long way.
It's a long way to come, but hopefully it will come.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the vaccine. And Oli Younger, the health minister in DRC, had this to say about it.
Une fois que ces piliers sont en place,
we are already working on the vaccination part. At present, we know it's the Zaire strain. The vaccines used in the equator can be used in North Kivu. We have approximately more than 3,000 doses of the vaccine, and all the vaccination teams are on their way already and being briefed on the new vaccination protocol. And we are working on the cold chain, and I think all this will be available very quickly.
What I found interesting about that was this mention of the cold chain, because I believe you've got to keep the vaccine in, is it minus 80 degrees?
No, it must be kept in between 2 and 8 degrees. So to keep it viable, if it goes too cold, you'll kill it, and if it's too warm, you'll kill it as well. So.
And what sort of challenge is it keeping it at that temperature, considering where you are?
Exactly. So the DRC is quite a hot place. So keeping things cool is always a big challenge, especially in places that are, regions that are very hot. So it involves
electricity, outages, and all of that sort of.
Yes. So you need to bring your own generators, your own fridges, your own cool boxes, etc., etc. So it is a big challenge, and that is the challenge when you're trying to vaccinate in places that are hard to reach.
What are the other challenges? Are people possibly frightened of you? Is there a cultural challenge to this?
It's a very scary disease, so it's not the same as having the flu, where everybody, you know, kind of says, all right, I'm really sorry, and I'll bring you some chicken soup. Yeah. It is scary, and it has a lot of stigma attached to it. So I think that it's very challenging to work with people who don't want to admit that they have it, don't want to admit that their family members might have it, and are trying their best to avoid the situation.
How contagious is it?
It's extremely contagious, and you contract it basically by coming in contact with bodily fluids, but not just person-to-person contact. If I am suffering from the virus and I touch a surface, and you come along and touch the same surface, could be a doorknob that I've opened, for example, a few minutes later, you can easily and then touch your face and then give yourself the...
And that's it.
And that's it. So
and once you've got it, the chances of you getting rid of it are pretty slim.
We're very slim. Depending on the strain, the survival rate is between, well, the death rate is between 25 to 90%. Wow. So depending on the strain. So yes, it can be survived, but it's
and it travels pretty well, doesn't it? I mean, if you look at what happened in Sierra Leone, I know you were there as well.
I was. And in Sierra Leone, it was kind of a perfect storm because it was at a border, a busy border between Sierra Leone and Guinea and Liberia, where people were traveling back and forth and taking it with them. So if it finds a heavily, densely populated area where the travel routes are many, then it can easily.
Well, I mean, the DRC is not looking good then, is it, if you consider
it is not looking
borders?
Good. It is at the moment in a region that is maybe a bit harder to reach than what we saw in Sierra Leone and in Ebola and in Liberia.
And what about burying people? Because I believe that's a real problem, and that's where a lot of people get infected. What happens there?
So the virus remains active in the body even after the person has passed away, and it, in fact, is at its most virulent at that stage. And what happens is that people, of course, especially African people, would like to touch their loved ones and to bury them with dignity. It's unsafe to touch a body of a person who's died from Ebola. So one of the pillars that MSF works with and the healthcare workers work with is to make sure that safe burials are given to people so that their family members then don't contract the disease from the body.
I suppose you've got to also admit that your family member has died from this.
Yes, or maybe has died or probably has died from it.
And you say it's a scary disease. I mean, it sounds scary. It is. What happens to you?
Well, I think one of the things that is most scary is it starts off very deceptively. So like any other flu, for example. So fever and coughing, a runny nose, a temperature. And then it gets worse after that. It starts kind of attacking the various organs in the body, and then it's a hemorrhagic fever. So you start bleeding, the loss of blood leads to the shutting down of the organ. So it's scary in that way because I guess it's so graphic, and it's quite fast as well. So from the time you contract the virus to potential death is a matter of weeks. So it
Incredible.
is. Yeah.
And the sort of psychological impact it must have on communities knowing that this killer is lurking amongst them.
Yes, there's a lot of disbelief. There's a lot of, it couldn't possibly be happening to us. And there is a lot of panic as well. So to try and contain that, to do a lot of health promotion, to talk about how you can prevent yourself and your family members from getting it, and to prevent the spread of it is very important.
So going back to the vaccine, what are you hoping it's going to do? I mean, how will you administer it, and what have you seen working before that gives you confidence in this vaccine?
Well, I think it's still very much in the hopeful phase, but it has been used in the previous outbreak in DRC earlier this year.
Correct.
And we're still hoping to get the results of that and to see how effective it was. But the idea is that once vaccinated, the spread of the disease can be stopped.
And how do you protect yourself? What sort of danger are you in getting so close to victims?
Well, for our doctors and our medical personnel who have to come into close contact with the victims, they have to wear protective gear. They must, in order to protect themselves, but also to protect from spreading it from one person to another. And for people who are working in an area that there is an outbreak, or living in an area where there's an outbreak, to keep your hands clean, to not touch anybody, because you're not sure who might be carrying it and who might not, and to prevent yourself from coming in contact with any kind of bodily fluids.
All right. Well, that was great getting that information from you, Monica, Genya, sharing your experience with us. Thank you.
Thank you.